one thing I think the families can do, although it may be difficult for us, is in order to get support from your Muslim community, get involved in the Muslim community, right? That may be difficult for your inside, trying to get, trying to volunteer, get involved in the Sunday school, etc. When this entire community seems to be ignoring your case. But I'm telling you, by getting involved, you'll begin to identify people who are good-natured and who are influential in the community. And you can then, and this is what I think, how the messaging can come through. I get a lot of emails from about different cases. Sometimes the mother of a defendant just like sits and writes something, all her emotions, and she sends it on her email list. Like I get some stuff from Khan's mother, right? As a lot of times it's very frustrated writing. And I'm finding that that's not the best way. We're bombarded by emails. So to convince people, like to educate people and get them to understand our case and the importance of our case, I think it has to be done one-on-one. It has to be done person to person, because this is not some like bullet point type of situation. This is a very big situation. It has to be explained. They have a lot of questions. But what about this? What about that? I read this in the paper, etc. That needs personal one-on-one. And if you get involved in the community, if you begin to identify those good-natured people who are influential, who have good stature, good standing in your community, and you begin to hone in on them and convince them of your situation, it may take more than one sit-down. It may take several sit-downs. They'll go home after 2 weeks, they'll have some questions. What about this? I heard this in the news. Back and forth. Once they're convinced, those good-natured people will become your advocates in that community. And then stuff will start filtering. They can convince the imam to give a khutbah or a speech concerning your case or something related to your case. If there's a rally you want them to come, it may be more likely that a board member will get up and say, look, everyone should go to that rally. So that's what the message, I think it has to be done, especially after the litigation. After the litigation process, we're in the post-litigation phase, is one-on-one messaging.
We had town hall meetings in our city. Town hall meetings where 500, 700 people would show up, many of them, to update the community about the case, why it was going to be, what the lawyers said. We bring the lawyers to speak in those meetings. And a lot of those we had. And people would show up to court to show support. But once the sentencing came out, that's it. When they see me, they know me. I'm very highly involved in the community. I taught all their kids, 25 years in this Islamic school. Their kids have kids now. They know me, they respect me.
So you did get support. You got
Yes,
support.
but okay, everybody almost forgot about the case. When they see me, oh sister, we feel for you. That's it. Okay. They know the case, they understand it's all good, it's all injustice. But what is next? He is like in my kid's words, he's rotting in jail. My son was telling me, okay, my dad will die in jail. He will never be out of jail. 65 years, he's 63 now. He has served 9 years. So what's next? That's the question that keeps playing in my mind. What's next? Of course, God is great. Things could flip in a minute and he can come out. Of course, I believe. I'm a believer. But that's God. I'm thinking of me as a human. What can I do to help the case? Help bring him out. What can I do? And you were saying, I don't know who said we are polite. Steve, for someone like me, I wanna put the effort, but I don't have the energy. Like I told you, I'm a full-time mom, single mom, full-time teacher. Come back at 6 or 7 or 8 sometimes. And I have a Down syndrome child. I have 2 boys who are still in college. And I'm trained.
What I think you just said was
Trained.
right.
What can I do?
Before we can convince the Justice Department to change their policies. We need an advocacy. This is not legal stuff. We need to have advocacy. To have advocacy, you need the whole community behind you. So I think you're absolutely right. I think the first thing you have to do is convert your own community.
I think
Infiltrate your own community.
I think the challenge is, like you said, is once they're sentenced, then everyone's like, all right, it's a done deal. There's
We
nothing
can't
we
do
can
anything
do,
about it.
right? But then we're left with the fact that, you know, our loved ones are serving 65 to life in prison and obviously on bogus charges. But what are we, maybe the question is, what are we asking the community to do at this point once a person is sentenced? What can we do from an advocacy perspective?
Also, again, I'm sorry, this was to say, from our experience, we try as an individual, I call, like Steve and the coalition, they try 2 times, 3 times to come to Michigan, call people by phone. During the meeting, like 1, 2, 3 were people there. One time, that's big mosque we went, I found out lately why everybody there, not because of us, because Tariq Ramadan was there last night. It's really a shame. So now I'm start thinking, who need to take this responsibility, not us as individual, maybe the big organization, CARE, ISNA, ICNA, ACD, these people is scared from day one. If they start next to us, we're not gonna be in this way now, trust me. But they are ashamed to say that.
हमारी फैमिली मस्जिद के अंदर की स्टोरी, मस्जिद के साथ की स्टोरी, हर कोई जानता है, मेरे बच्चे को, मेरे बेटे को, मेरी बीवी को काफ़ी सालों से। और मेरा बेटा मस्जिद के साथ इन्वॉल्व है, वो नमाज़ें पढ़ने जाते हैं, सब जानते हैं, क्योंकि वो छोटे से बड़ा हुआ मस्जिद के साथ, खेलता कूदता सब जानने के बाद ये लोग जब सुना मेरे बेटा अरेस्ट हुआ है, सब आ गए, सबने मेरे बेटे के फेवर में जो भी बोलना था सब बोला से। मगर बाद में मेरे ट्रायल के टाइम में कोर्ट में सिर्फ नानी दादी माँ बाप 2 कोई नहीं, माँ कोई नहीं, वो आए थे बाहर मदीन के लिए खड़े थे। अखबार के अंदर भी इन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा वो इमाम शाता ने वो कुछ बोला और दूसरे लोगों ने बोला, यहाँ तक कि बंगाली मस्जिद के बाहर भी, क्योंकि उसके अंदर जो अंडरग्राउंड बंगाली था वो भी बाहर भी बताया कि हमारी बंगाली ने मुसलमान के साथ ऐसे क्यों। उस वक्त बहुत कुछ हुआ, क्योंकि मेरे बेटे को सब जानते, मेरी फैमिली को सब जानते। और जब ये सब कुछ हुआ कोर्ट के अंदर जो मैं अकेली,
क्या मतलब बाहर आने की, क्या मतलब कोर्ट के बाहर या कहाँ?
कोर्ट के अंदर भी बहुत सारे लोग, जैसे बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो सपोर्ट करने के लिए खड़े होकर बाहर अंदर भी बैठे होते हैं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ उस वक्त मैं अकेली। कोई वो नहीं था हमारे साथ, मगर यूँ थे सब। और जब सेंटेंस हो गया उसके बाद जब मैं अपने मदद के लिए जब गई अपने उनके पास, मैं बात कर रही हूँ वो मुझे सलाह करनी पड़ी।
So she feels, so her son used to visit the mosque in Brooklyn a lot, and there was a store next to the mosque where he was visited by the informant. So everyone like knew, the whole mosque knew, the mosque community, the imam, everyone knew their son and their family. But when, you know, this case happened, nobody was like in the court with them, supporting them. And then even though like vocally they had like supported them, but like in the courtroom itself, like there was really no community support. And then once there was no one, and then once the sentencing happened, she was pretty much like shunned by her community, where आपसे वो बात भी नहीं ऐसे करते
जब मैं
nobody
मदद
talks
के
to
लिए
her
गई,
anymore.
बहुत सारे लोगों ने, हमारे अपने लोगों ने मुझे टेररिस्ट बोला।
Yeah, so Muslims have called her
Muslim.
like terrorists
हाँ?
as well, you know.
मैं बाहर खड़ी हूँ फ्लैट के लिए, मस्जिद के बाहर खड़ी हूँ, मैं किसी से भीख नहीं मांग रही हूँ, फ्लैट दे रही हूँ कि प्लीज तकलीफ न हो। उन्होंने मुझे वहाँ भी नहीं खड़े रहने दिया।
So she would go outside the mosque to pass out flyers for the case, and she wasn't allowed to.
और बहुत सारे लोगों ने मेरे बेटे के नाम से बहुत कुछ कमाया, मगर मुझे एक पैसे भी नहीं दी। बहरहाल ये चीज़ें मुझे नहीं चाहिए, मुझे सिर्फ एक सपोर्ट चाहिए था कि मुसलमान इकट्ठे होकर सिर्फ उनसे सवाल करते हैं कि इस बच्चे को हम जानते हैं, इस फैमिली को जानते हैं, कई सालों से मस्जिद के साथ और हमारे साथ ये यहाँ इनका है, बच्चा छोटे से बड़ा वहाँ हुआ है, सब कुछ उनको पता है।
यहाँ तक कि बाहर भी आए हैं, मगर उसके बावजूद भी किसी ने बाद में उसके बाद जैसे कोई जानता नहीं,
Yeah, so she felt
तो
like,
ये चीज़ें सारी
yeah.
होती हैं हमारी कम्युनिटी में। और इस वक्त इन्होंने बहुत ज़रूरत थी, पिटीशन फाइल हो रहा था, बहुत सारे लोगों ने नहीं दिया, कुछ लोगों ने दिया था, सब पूरे नहीं होते, मगर मैं ये कहती हूँ कि आज हमारी बारी थी, कल सब लोगों के ऊपर आएगा, तो इसलिए हमें सब लोगों के साथ, चाहे कोई भी कम्युनिटी हो, तो हमारे सब मुसलमानों को इकट्ठे खड़े होकर अपना स्ट्रेंथ बनाना चाहिए और उनकी पॉलिसी या जो भी सिस्टम है उनके बारे में उनसे बात करनी चाहिए कि क्यों हो रहा है हमारे यहाँ तो हम तबाह हो गए ना एक तरह से, फैमिली की फैमिली एक नहीं है, दो नहीं है, बहुत सारे अंदर है जवान बच्चे हमारे जो अब बड़े हो गए, जिनको मैं जानती हूँ।
Yeah, so in
Yeah.
so in this case, it was even like the Muslim community which really shunned her, and
Even though her son was well known.
he was well known. He'd grown up, for several years. He'd gone to the same mosque. He worked next to the mosque, so it's more of an extreme case. Yeah.
So one thing I'm thinking about is, sister, from the Holy Land Foundation, how you did get support from the community in the beginning, but then as time went, people are forgetting, people are getting numbed or apathetic or whatever.
They say we make dua for you.
Yeah, we should make dua for you. But I think all of you families and brothers and sisters are here, which says a lot, because I think from an outsider looking inside to all your situations, what we can do for our young men and I think some sisters also who are incarcerated in these situations is advocacy about the issue now, about the whole situation for the country is maybe something that's left for us to do, even if the trial is over. But joining our cases together, joining our forces and our sentiments and our energies together to advocate for this whole situation that's happening is maybe the best thing that can be done for the person incarcerated and for everyone else, right? For the whole country in general. So how do we get the messaging? One thing I'm noticing is that sometimes we do things freelance, like on our own, or we do something with just some person from the mosque who's pretty good in English. Let me get a flyer together. Some guy's gonna, sister or whatever, gonna help graphic designer, like make a flyer and pass it out. But in this day and age, with people are bombarded with information and information about our cases also, I think, and this is an opinion, that we need a professional level messaging. We need people who know how to craft messages, who have that psychological, advertising, messaging type of mentality and training to get the content from us, get the life experience from us, interview us, the way that, you make a commercial, right? You tell me your story. And then that person, that professional needs to come up with the messaging that's going to be emotional, that's going to hit their sense of ethics and values and raise their awareness and their consciousness. And I'm wondering, do we have people in NCPCF or outside partners, alliances, where there are messaging professionals that can get the raw information from us, from the community, from the families, and then craft the messages that need to go, whether it's in audio, visual, video format, letters, magazine articles. So that's one thing. Second thing is I've from a journalist point of view, I've worked with many reporters. I'm a reporter myself for the Muslim community, and Mama can speak more on this as well. Is that journalists and reporters are always on deadline. They're always looking for a great story, and the more we can help them collectively get a great story together with great information, authentic, verified information from people close to the cases. If you can deliver that to them on a silver platter, it's more likely that they'll bite and they'll put a story together and that story will be published. So that's another thing. Sometimes, often it's not in our best interest to shun the media, right? If we can find media, and there are ways you can find out if reporters are sincere or not, Those who don't have sincerity and have a history of writing stuff against the Muslim community, you can find that out through research or talking to activists and stuff who have experience. You know, that's also could be a strategy for advocacy. You know, finding out the mouthpieces that if you feed them, then they can, you know, documentary filmmakers, they're also looking for this stuff. If you can tell them that, look, I have access to 10 families from across the country, and I have a way to gather them all together, and to, you know, get great information about what's going on in America with our civil liberties, with regard to the Muslim community in general, this is what it is. There's independent filmmakers who will jump on this stuff, you know. They will. You're making it easier for them. So that's something maybe we can put on, you know, future agendas to identify some independent filmmakers, and then go from there and see what we can do.
I also, like, sorry, you guys, I also think I'm a reporter as well, and I think, like, there's a lot of value in engaging with mainstream media, even though people here would be wary of it because they might have been burned in the past, or they might have worked with a reporter who did not articulate the nuance of the situation, right? It's not black and white, it's a very gray situation. But I think, like, there is, like, immense value in going beyond just, like, alternative or leftist press, because that's read by such a small population. And I just think there's a lot of value in, like, having something in the New York Times or something like that that is really read by people of, like, all, like, the whole political spectrum, right? Even people who completely disagree with you, I think there's value in, like, having them read about this. I don't know, just wanted to throw that out there.
About social media. Social media gets very political.
But I think the key was what he said is like having professional level messaging. I think a lot of times we're not trained properly, and they say things that they, that actually end up hurting them.
Yeah, completely agree.
I think with the social media thing, even when we have like our like the main the biggest newspaper or any of that, every time the parents, they've done many interviews, it gets nowhere. Like they'll come to their businesses and try to talk to them and stuff like that, and it doesn't get anywhere. And then even if we try to invite them to things we're doing, what the message that we're trying to put out and like, oh, look at what we're doing, look at our community gathering, like all of that stuff, they don't cover that. They only take what is important to them and their story that they're gonna publish, and they just take bits and pieces, a couple of quotes, take a picture, and then it's like, oh, what happened to what we agreed on for you to come here. And then they just put, and then I think the biggest thing is that it's like their propaganda. They'll write an article, but then behind it, like they'll have all their pictures, and then they'll have a background of like jihadi, and or the title will say ISIS, and then it's just right then and there. Even though they're writing the story, it's like in the back, while the person's reading it, they're not reading, oh, this is injustice. They're looking at it as ISIS, Al Qaeda, this, that, So I don't find personally the media as something that helps, because they always twist the story. So what we do is that we use our social media, because in any way there's the FBI and everybody's looking at our social media either way. So I personally don't find the news outlets, because at the end of the day, the news outlets are being funded by like Republicans and people that want to read, oh, we're a great country, we're defeating terrorism, we're defeating that. They don't want to read, oh, the government entrapped these people. So you have to look at the people. Yeah, so you have to look at the people that are funding these news stations, these radio stations. So personally, I think more like independent writers and document people would be more of use than mainstream media.
They had a documentary about the Lincoln Foundation. It stayed like almost 2 years ready to go, and it took almost 2 years to release it. It was being,
The government was.
it was being slowed down. It took almost 2 years for it to come out.
To the independent filmmaker.
Yes.
And then when it came out, did it came out?
I don't think it created any, nothing.
But you know, when we produce things like documentaries or good articles or radio interviews or whatever, because of the nature of the media now, that everything is on the internet, eventually someone will find it. So even with our case, with our steps that we've covered, like we did extensive coverage of the paintball jihad case, whatever, remember that. And years later, I've gotten at least 2 or 3 inquiries from people doing their PhDs in journalism, like one guy at Harvard, some other guy from London, some research associate, who's now doing a book or a PhD thesis or whatever on the war on terror and how that was done in the United States, and then eroding civil liberties and whatnot. And then they find this information. And so even if on the surface it doesn't look like, oh my God, that makes any difference, but in the long run, it does craft the way history is going to view the situation, and it may even cause changes, in law.
Nico Pele, you may have heard of Nico Pele.
Yeah.
He is releasing a book soon about the Holy Land Foundation. And 2 other books have mentioned a chapter or 2 about the Holy Land Foundation.
And I'm sure he's going to reference stuff, speeches, interviews that were done in the
Right.
past.
But so far, we don't see much coming out of this. Maybe one day in the future.
One thing I wanted to mention, again, from a journalist's point of view and from a media watcher point of view, the sister was talking about the news reporters and how they want to, hype up stuff to appeal to their readers and their donors or funders. But one thing I've noticed, this is not a black and white rule, but you may get better results from long-form reporters. Long-form journalists who, they're writing for a different audience, a more thoughtful audience, and they will take more time. Their interviews are going to be like several interviews with you over the course possibly of weeks or months, coming back to you over and over again. They want to come to your events, they want to come to your khutbah, they want to come to the court, and usually, not all the time, but usually when those pieces come out, they are more balanced, because that's the point of long form. They want to get the bigger story, a better story, more in depth. So, some of these daily papers, they just literally want to, whatever they can hype up to get on the front page or closer to the front page, that's what they'll do. But, so that's just one idea. Magazines, long form magazines.
And I just should add that the NCBCF did come out with a report preventing terrorists that talk about preemptive prosecution and many all of these cases. And I would say at least once a month, I get a call from somebody somewhere who picked it up on the internet and wants to get information. They're writing an article, they're writing a thesis. So all of that information is out there, and I speak to a lot of reporters, and I constantly, they understand it. They understand because they read the material. It's all out there on the internet. The problem is that they're trying to get the story out in the face of blowback from a lot of French blowhards on the right who are telling a different story. And they're better funded, and they just have this megaphone.
Right.
And it's just hard to push through that.
Right.
I'm hoping after the election, maybe some of the noise on the right will die down a little bit. Maybe we will have more luck getting our message out. But I have to say that of all the reporters I've talked to over the years, none of them, and I gave lots of quotes to everybody, none of them ever misquoted me or identified what the subject was, except for the New York Times. They were the only one that's screwed. So I don't necessarily have a big feeling about the New York Times, but that's all right. That's what the New York Times does.
A writer came and stayed with us a whole summer. Not in my house, but around us in the community, to write an article about the Holy Land Foundation case. A whole summer. Until now, I haven't seen the article. And every time I ask her, she says, I can't tell you anything.
Yeah.
She wrote the article
Yeah.
like 2 years ago.
A lot of people write the articles, then it goes to the editor who goes, oh crap, this is going to look good, let me just tweak it a bit, and all of a sudden it disappears or it comes out on its head.
2 years now.
No.
Yeah, well, there are the solutions, yes.
part we need to look at what is the media strategy. The other part is how do we build off of that strategy? Because it's not, I mean, we've heard, especially with left-leaning or liberal publications, right? People know that this stuff is happening. People know there's informants, people know there's terrorism, but what does that result in? Are people mobilizing? No. Is it causing massive outrage in our communities? No. So how do we use the media strategy to actually move people to take action? I think we have to kind of extend the discussion a little in that direction as well.
Anyone have any ideas about how to extend the media strategy so it actually has an impact on making people do something?
Social
One time, Chinese organization terrorism cases in Belarus, and all terrorist cases, most of it has to do with foreigners. One time, Somali mothers, they started doing some protesting in the Ghana communities and communities in the capital here in the city. They went to the children and stuff. I mean, they don't teach you at the time. They just kind of just go down and they get to the people and ask them, what we can do this. And that protest, they heard a lot. It was one time, t-shirts with these pictures and stuff. I mean, it was a protest where about 100 people came with children and all this stuff. Protest is how when people go to the capital hills and where these representatives of the senators working at the time, you go there and you take all children and you take everybody in. It happened one time and they did that and a couple of beautiful.
Any other ideas what to do after the media? If you can get some good media coverage, well, how do we make that media coverage translated to people getting activated about the cause? Ideas? One thing that comes to my mind that this is not really related to the media part, but getting that core Muslim community around us, where our families live, to be activated. Honestly, there is something to be said about the religious track. Not all Muslims will respond to a very religious specific message, but there are many Muslims, good-natured, well-endowed, influential, who, if you can strike at their religious sensitivities, they may respond. And because all this whole situation is a zulm, right? It's zulm, the oppression, and it's a duty of every Muslim to stand up against oppression. There's so many hadith and ayat about this. But unfortunately, a lot of the imams and the khatibs and speakers, they're not going to frame our issue as this, because they don't want to say outright that the government is oppressing, or they don't want to use this kind of loaded language. But see that if we can convince the khatibs, and remember, not all the khatibs, the people who give the Friday sermon, not all of them are the imam, right? There are other khatibs who deliver the Friday service who are just activists or board members or whatever, right? It's not all the time the imam. So if we can get that one-on-one with those people, either the person giving the sermon or the imam, and it may, again, require more than one sitting. And then, once they're convinced of the legitimacy of our situation and our cause, we can tell them to look, give a speech and say it, that this is oppression. And if they do, I've seen myself, at least as a trying to set money, if you're trying to fundraise for some situation, cause, and you just call it out that this is zulm, it is a duty of the Muslim community to stand up. The religious people specifically are more likely to pull out and
Cash.
get some money.
Cash.
Oh, you
discovery they had on my brother, which was all bogus. But we went to them and we have that close relationship with them and with the families themselves, with the imam, with the board members. But they still didn't stand by us. And it's not about the religious aspect. It's about them being afraid of the FBI attacking them. So each of these different communities are different. Like in maybe Dallas, Texas, the communities stood by them. They were their leaders in their communities. For us, the imam didn't even make dua. He knew my brother personally. So I don't think that portion really is like that doesn't really have an impact. The board members are responsible for the imam. They're the ones that are giving him the salary. They're the ones that are responsible for the community, for the masjid. But what I see is that the issue is that what we really need to do is for the Muslim communities to wake up and for us to gain their support is to like normalize these cases becoming normal, for them to see it the norm, and for them to see other people helping us, and then they'll be more open to it because they'll say maybe nothing will happen to us if we stand by them. So again, we go back to the fear. It's the fear that moves them away from us, and our community leaders are the ones that are feeding them this fear. So if we try to do something to normalize it to them, to make it a norm for them to help us and to stand by us, if they see more of outsiders standing by us, maybe then they'll join and they'll start helping as well.
You know, I ran into a situation like that, and you know what they said? They said, of course, they are white people, they can do that. Nobody will say anything to them. But when we do it, of course we're going to be taken in. And then when you say, but you are a believer, if you are to be taken in, then Allah has written that for you in the book before you were created. Then it's your nasib. You know what they tell me? You need to be more wise. You have to have the wisdom. You can't just throw yourself in the fire and then you say, Allah did that to me. You have to be wise.
Wiser than the Quran.
Right. You have to be wise.
That's a tough word.
Yeah, you have to be wise by counting your steps and not, I want to make a program that I've been dreaming of for the last 5 years in the school, where I want to teach my community, outer community, larger community, about Islam, so they don't fear us as a school in the city of Garland. Now we have the gym to do this. We didn't know where to do it at first. Now we have the gym. So I want to create stations and invite the 9th grade in public schools because they do social studies about Islam. And invite them to come and learn about Islam as a culture, not as a religion, because, separation between church and state. So come and see Islam because you're studying it in your social studies book and learn about it. You know what they told me? Now they will bring the media because you'll create a big, okay. And they will come and they will look into this and they will find that Majda Salim, the wife of Ghassan al-Ashi, the co-founder of the Holy Land Foundation, is doing this. And so it will be a big case and they will close down the school.
You're trying to create terrorists.
This is what I'm living in my community. So the parents don't want me to do this. The school doesn't want me to do this. Can you believe that?
I can believe it.
I taught about jihad in my school. Why? It's in the book. Because my students, I teach 11th and 12th graders, juniors and seniors. They go to college. And they are bombarded with all these questions about Islam and Muslims, especially in the current atmosphere. So I teach them about hijab, I teach them about women in Islam, I teach them about all current issues that they get asked about, where doubt is created in their hearts about Islam when they go there, because they are like, we don't know what this is. So I said, okay, I created a course from scratch where I teach them how to debate and how to reply and how to, right? Parents came to me and said, why are you teaching them about jihad? Do you want the school to be closed down? Why are you teaching them about jihad? Why are you? I'm teaching them how to reply to questions. I want them to be able to say that jihad is striving within yourself against your weaknesses. This is jihad. It's not only on the battlefield. That's jihad asra. That's the minutest kind of jihad. Because how many times in your lifetime do you get to stand up on the battlefield and fight? You are making choices every single day, and you are striving and struggling with your weakness. This is jihad. So a father came and said, you are going to close the school down. You need to stop this. So you...
It was bouncing off of an earlier thought. But I know Brother Yusuf mentioned how I guess in the Muslim community there's really no hierarchy, and that may be the problem. This is just brainstorming out loud, and this is something that I talked with Maha about, but we do have celebrity shield, right? And they have immense influence, and they reach, well, I don't know, maybe 1 million people, right? And I have reached out to one sheikh personally, and I've spoken with him personally. And this was back in 2012, but his reply was like, give us something more concrete. Give us, what do you need us to do? And I think that's the question is, once our cases have gone through sentencing, what is it that we're asking them to do? But I do think that we do need to reach those people. So when Tariq Ramadan makes a statement about these issues, everyone's listening. When I think it's only a handful who have ever said anything about those cases, but one of them,
Sulaiman is ready to speak. I asked him.
but he's ready to speak. That's wonderful.
He's ready to speak. And this is the
I mean, but who was it? There were a few that made statements on social media, and I think it was almost shocking when I saw those statements because it's been, no one ever mentions it from those shuyukh, and it's a shame because it's something that's impacting our communities, and it's ongoing. It's not something that was done 10 years ago.
Here's a question for you on your thing. So Tariq Ramadan at the ICNA convention, I think he mentioned Afia Siddiqui directly. I believe Yasir Qadi mentioned Afia Siddiqui directly in one of his speeches. Maybe Zaid Shakir also mentioned Afia. So what is it about Afia? Obviously you heard the case is a huge, very high profile international news and all this. But besides that, is there something else that allowed those sheikhs to use her name and to get on board that we can learn from and then do the same thing? I know for a fact that some activists like Mari Salakan, who's Afia's case is one of his main things. He hammers these guys. I mean, non-stop. That over email, phone. He drives up hundreds of miles to knock on their door and says, "Are you man enough to speak about this?" He's been putting these guys on the spot for years. Is that a way we should do it?
It's this kind of joke. One day I mentioned Dr. Siddiqui, Allah Farjan, Dr. Afia, in front of ladies. I said, look, we need to wake up, you need to go to the conference to be aware of the kids. Now it's reach a woman. They said, see, that's why we can't go. We need to be afraid. So since that's there, I said, okay, that's not a great example. Allah, in a big mosque in Dearborn area. وحط في ديربورن في مسجد العالم السلام بقول لهم دكتور عاطف اتصل بالليل عشان هيك لازم نخاف. I lost hope with the people. That's why I said if we can concentrate in the big organization, which is supposed to present us as a Muslim. which they are scared. I don't know until when they're gonna be scared.
I just have to say about Dr. Abdi. She is, of course, very well known, perhaps one of the best known of the cases, and therefore makes it somewhat logical to kind of pick on it. Also because she is a woman, and because she was a victim of disappearance, and in which one of her children died, and the other two children were held for 5 years under God knows what conditions. These are all, and also we believe at the request of the U.S. and also the U.S. not being transparent about what they did. So there's a lot of elements to this case that make it a very serious case, and it's perhaps an easier one to unite around, simply because she is so well known and the circumstances are so unusual and horrific. On the other hand, it's not perhaps the most typical example, and there's a lot of cases that, in a sense, fit the same typical pattern of the U.S. going out and manufacturing something and just locking people up. So I kind of go back and forth on it both ways. I mean, I am representing the family of Dr. Siddiqui, so I understand her case. But it's hard to argue her case and then everybody else's case because her case is so unusual.
From an advocacy point of view, I mean, you have to give credit to Brother Mari and how
He's
he
a model of
stands.
advocacy.
The guy stands, will stand at Eid prayer where there's like 2,000-3,000 people with a table for a couple of hours, and maybe not a single person stops by and picks anything up. But at least they've seen that big banner that he has, Afia. And next Eid, he's going to be there again. You never find the guy, mashallah,
So committed.
yeah, never finding him losing hope that, oh, no one came and talked to me, no one even picked up a pamphlet. It's that persistence that he has that, mashallah, we should learn from, that we have to have.
Well, I think that's the issue. If we had one case, like Abu Jamal or something, just one case to focus on, it's easy enough to go down into the mosque and say, look, we've got to win this case. This is the one case. We're advocating, look at all the number of different cases we are, all over the country, different circumstances, different arguments, and which one of you should go first? Which one is the key case? And I'm frustrated with this all the time because I love you all. I hate all
We love
of
you
these
too,
cases.
Steve.
And I want to be able to start with one case and I don't know which one to pick,
So I would actually, I'd probably argue the opposite, which is to say that, not that we can advocate, not that we can advocate all these cases, but I think the key is to really emphasize institutional Islamophobia and to get people to understand that system of oppression and one that affects Muslims as an entire community and population, it's not just about these cases. These are the most egregious happenings to Muslims. But I think we need to get people invested in understanding the consequences of what has happened. And on that note, I think we're talking about the Muslim community. A lot of what people have talked about in terms of fear or in terms of people calling community members terrorists, etc., I think that has to do with internalized Islamophobia. So it's impossible that you live in this society and culture and you don't start to internalize some of the negative ideas about Muslims. So I think that has to go in concert with really pushing people to talk about institutionalized Islamophobia. We know it's affecting us. We know most mosques are Mormons, right? We know that people aren't going to donate. So why aren't we understanding the institutional and systemic implications of this?
I think, like he was saying, that we don't know which case to start with because there's so many cases, but just like, the Black Lives Matter thing, they're all united on one thing, which is, they're stopping police brutality on African American folks. So it's the same thing with us. It's like there's cases, like I'll just be going through my Twitter and right now somebody just went viral that got killed in 2012, 2011, but we're just hearing about it now. All of you guys' cases have been so long ago, and we're just happening right now. And there's so many, African American people that get killed every single year, but then there's that one everybody knows, Trayvon Martin, everybody knows Mike Brown and stuff, So I think with us and trying to figure out this is that we should look at the African American community, how they're so united, something will happen in Baltimore and, they'll shut down the whole, state, the whole city, and even in Minneapolis, like there was a shooting and stuff, and they shut down the like the highways and stuff. So I think we should have a like one platform where we are all like, it's like each case, each people, where we all connected, because in our state we have people that advocate for us. There's Islamophobia, people that are not Muslim, that are Americans, you know, and you know, maybe in Michigan, maybe in Detroit, maybe in Texas, they're, you know, so the people in Texas with her can connect with our people, and people in New York can connect with, and we all, you know, so it's better to have one platform, just like Black Lives Matter, and that then we can focus on this agenda, because it seems like we're kind of, you know, so it'd be better if we had one, you know, platform, this is the agenda, and then just like you said, you know, focus on one thing, because if one, you know, one case like gets through, you know, that's, you know, we're all happy at the end of the day, you know, so I think that if we connected with, you know, because then after that, if we have some, like, you know, just like you said, someone wants something concrete. All these people want something concrete, you know. So if we figure that out, then we can give that to them, because we just have the idea. We're just affected by it. But then after that, we give that, you know. And then each, you know how Black Lives Matter, they have a Black Lives Matter Minnesota, Black Lives Matter Texas, Black Lives Matter, you know. So if we had something like that, where, you know, our lawyers connect with you and all the cases and stuff like that, and it's something that they're all aware of, and I think that's more effective than, you know, we just leave here and you do what you're doing in Texas, and we do what we're doing in Minnesota, and you do what you're doing in New York. But if we have a platform, you know what I'm saying, I think that's more effective.
And I would agree with that. I think, well, I'm trying to do this and it kind of fails, but I've been trying to do something like around this idea of justice for Muslims, like having a hashtag, and where we articulate particular and discrete stated consequences that Muslims are facing, similar to what Black Lives Matter has done, right?
Yeah.
And they have like a statement of principles, they have a philosophy, and I think that is something maybe very tangible that we could leave this conference with. Like, what do we want to articulate? What are the specific, distinct problems that we are facing as a community? And then, as the cases unfortunately continue to build, we have a platform, like a unified platform, right?
Yeah, and I think it would help with, because it's like we're numbers, you know. So you have your community, I have my community, you know, Mariam has her community. So it's like, then you say we're trying to figure out, you know, we're trying to stop a movie happening in Minneapolis. So I connect with, you know, Steve in New York, and I connect with you guys, and I'm like, hey, you guys, you know, get on Twitter, hashtag, you know, stop HBO, and we all, like, this huge, massive thing happens. And if you want to start your school thing, and then we get connect with everybody, and then we grab, you know, awareness to that. So I think it's like power in numbers. Even though we're away from each other, you know, social media is a huge platform that it's free, you know, you don't need no funding, you don't need anything. It's just follow, like, subscribe, whatever, you know. Yeah, and then even if something happens, like, say, you know, we kind of lose touch or something, nothing really big has happened, and then something big happens in your case or our case, you know, and it's just a fast way to get it through, you know, to everybody. So I feel like if we had an organized platform that is massive to every type of, because either way, like, you can just, you know, they'll say recommend it to you, and then, you know, one of the, you know, like even if one ship even reblogs something, right then and there, like, we can just get so many people can get aware of, you know what I'm saying? So I think that is something we should kind of like focus on.
Let's face it, we faced a kind of paradigm shift, I think, in which this is the first time I remember a presidential campaign that was run almost entirely by tweet.
Yeah.
You know? This is odd for people my age, but for your age, it's perfectly normal, and it's the way things are going to happen. And I would love to see that happen. That's the way Black Lives Matter started, and I just think we have to go that direction. That's probably the way. People don't read stuff anymore; they want to see it.
Yeah, you can do a quick video. I can show what's going on in, like, a protest that's happening here, and then you guys can show something. So it's an easy way that we can all connect, that we can spread awareness in a matter of seconds. You don't even really need like a filmmaker or anything, because all the stuff that's happening with Black Lives Matter, they just use their phones, you know, like they record something, or they'll be literally in their car, like just ranting, and that rant of a mother gets everywhere, you know, and she'll be like invited to here and there and there, you know, so.
حتى واحد هو حتى المحاولة الله ما عرف بتاع already تفكير هذا ما تفكير هذا تكلم تاعها لبس واحد ما يرجع
Yeah, so now like with, you know, with all these, like everybody else, they're like kind of like the older generation. So now we really need to like get it like started, because now it's young people getting arrested, you know? Before it's like, oh, they got arrested when they're 31, they got, you know, it can happen to your, right now it's like people that just turned, you know, 18 and stuff. So I think it's something really important, and we really need to kind of like, even with lawyers and stuff, you guys are not really connected with each other, even with similar cases. Even the lawyers with co-defendants don't even really talk to each other and stuff like that. So I think like if we bridge that gap with all these different communities and stuff, and people and activists and people affected and people are just aware of it, you know, and even like with the other like communities and stuff, you guys don't, maybe you guys don't have the support we have, or we don't have the support you have, you know. It seems like your guys' communities don't really help. It's a thing, you know, but like other parents and I've talked to, like they don't, you know, they're shunned from the community and stuff, but we're kind of like, alhamdulillah, that we have good community support. So if, you know, we can, you know, I feel
You
like
are awesome. You need to be part of NCDCF.
but yeah, I think.
Get her on the committee, that's what I like saying.
But if we just get a platform like Black Lives Matter, and even if you just get one shift, since you have that connection with Dr. Suleiman, if you just reblogged one thing, you know, he sent that to everybody. So
give me something and I'll
That
have
break,
it.
and that Black Lives Matter, they kind of break that African Americans way of doing things. I mean, they used to go to the ACB and Urban League and wait for a while they're saying something. But now, you know, you're on your own. You don't have to, for us, if we don't have hierarchy of imams or imams that are shy about or scared about doing something, it's a really good idea to just come up and just share ideas and pictures and protests. So that themselves they don't get in trouble. It's really a purpose. In this way, media nowadays, it's just a good stuff. They get a lot of support from all kinds of things.
I think that's a great way to kind of brand all these cases, you know, for lack of a better term. So it's easier to advocate for all these cases by using one thing like Black Lives Matter. But how does that get us past the fear thing? 'Cause, for example, Black Lives Matter, we're going to go protest. This young man was shot in the street, and they put it on social media, and thousands of young people come out, right? Because they're not afraid. They're not afraid. They're angry. They're not afraid.
once you
There are people that are
show,
afraid.
they're only afraid because they think these people are wrong, they're terrorists and stuff. But once you show them that this is injustice, like this can happen to you, this can happen to your son, this can happen to your neighbor, you know. So once you show that, then everyone is kind of like, you know, this can happen to me. So I think like you, I don't know. I think once you go on social media, you can say whatever you want. You know, it's not like I'm on the news. I have to be professional or any of that. So, well, kind of.
But aren't those cases easier to defend? I mean, like a cop shoots an African American young guy in the street. It's kind of clear. There's really no explanation too much that's needed. But our cases are, well, this guy was doing such and such, material support, blah blah. There's much more of an education component on our cases, you know, with our cases as opposed to these other cases.
But I think we're trying to educate people on the patterns, right, and the institutional systems. And I think that we can do that under the guise of some sort of like unified platform, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to articulate very discrete, again, like very discrete consequences. So I think, yes, it requires perhaps more, but part of it, right? It's state violence, whether it's police brutality, whether it's part of law enforcement, whatever.
Or you can compare white people who have 3 cars full of explosives in Kansas and one in Nevada. Apartments full of spots. You can compare that to these cases, or this teenage Minnesota rural areas that has bombs and want to blow up this school. And these, we never call them terrorists, never call them
the guy, young guy, Colin something or other, the white kid who, after Obama got elected, he literally started getting guns and ammo, and he even scoped out where he was going to stand on some bridge to shoot, assassinate the president as he was going under the bridge in a motorcade. So he was really planning to say he had plans, he drew them out, all that stuff, and he got what, a slap on the wrist or something.
5 years.
5 years, most of it on probation or something. And of course, Ahmed, didn't have any real evidence, and same idea of killing a president, and he got life. So we, for our part, with the support of the family, we did a front page article with 2 big pictures, Ahmed and this white kid. And we say, which one got life? Question mark. That was the front page. But that's a great idea, these comparative cases, so people know it's about Muslims.
And it's also like articulating that there's unity and power behind this movement, right? So like they're not disparate cases. It's not like one here, one there, and that we're all recognizing the system exists to oppress us, and that we're coming together, and that we're more of a challenge to the state by doing so.
I think that's what's missing right now.
Yeah.
It's been that we're just random dispersed cases all over the country. And, there's no power behind whatever we're asking for.
And that's what the NCPCF is expected to do, pull all the students together and show it as one case of injustice, basically. So how do we do that?
So I think we should.
We do have 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So I think we can figure that out.
One thing we can do is maybe after the talk tonight, maybe we can do a little strategy session around that. I actually did start a movement called Justice for Muslims under the umbrella of an organization called the U.S. Human Rights Network. So there is something that exists. We can utilize that platform. They have an extensive membership. So we can kind of jumpstart with this idea from that platform if we so choose to. And I'm also part of, I'm a co-chair of a national security group that we can also use to bring these people in and really incorporate and from the get-go get more people involved. So maybe we can just talk about that after the last session.
You form a little committee to talk about it?
Yeah.
Include the sister.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Of
put her
course,
on the committee.
Yes.
Yeah, I think pointing out the hypocrisy of the system is a strong point, because we have to think of what's easily digestible for the people we want to get on our side. What can they swallow quickly? Like Black Lives Matter. There's no argument about that, right? Black Lives Matter. You're going to be put yourself out there if you disagree with that. So we need to think of the similar things like the hypocrisy of the system, that comparative cases, which one got life, and just highlight, rather than the branding shouldn't go directly into the details of material support and legal issues, but it has to be something that everyone can agree on. And once you can get, at least past that, then maybe they'll be willing to listen about the details. So let's keep that in mind as, brainstorm. Justice for Muslims, that's great. That's a great
No
tag.
second-class Muslims.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
Any final thoughts?
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much for giving us the floor.
Good session, very good session.
There's a lot of talent in this room, Inshallah, you should use it. A lot of energy, understanding. Did you guys connecting with MLFA and their new law center?
Yes.
I was in Texas at their conference 2 weeks ago.
One of the gals down there, Marwa El-Mali.
Yes.
She comes from Albany. She's part of our.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So she's an employee, right?
she's an employee there.
The
She's
center.
from Albany. She's our gal at Albany. Down here.
And Linda Moreno.
Yes.
Yeah.
Linda Moreno, right? We